3.1 A.
Good afternoon, this is your captain speaking. I'd like to welcome you all on board the Wings Flight 86A to London Stansted. We are currently cruising at an altitude of 33,000 feet at an airspeed of 400 miles per hour. The weather en route looks good, and we are expecting to land in London approximately 15 minutes ahead of schedule. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the flight.
B.
This is a platform alteration. The 11:32 Southeastern service to Margate will now depart from platform 13. Passengers travelling on the 11:32 Southeastern service to Margate, please make your way to platform 13 as the train is ready for boarding.
C.
We are sorry to announce that the 14:15 Southwestern service to Bournemouth has been cancelled. This is due to a signalling failure. Southwestern Railways apologises for the disruption to your journey today.
D.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we have your special attention for the following safety instructions. There are 6 emergency exits on this aircraft, all marked with exit signs. Take a minute to locate the exit closest to you. Note that the nearest exit may be behind you.
E.
This is the final boarding call for passengers Alice and Christopher Carter, booked on flight NY372A to Las Vegas. Please proceed to gate 3 immediately. I repeat, this is the final boarding call for Alice and Christopher Carter. Thank you.
F.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board flight MA4B7 to San Francisco. We are currently third in line for takeoff and are expected to be in the air in approximately 7 minutes' time. We ask that you please fasten your seatbelts at this time and place all baggage securely underneath your seat or in the overhead compartments. We also ask that your seats and tray tables are in the upright position for takeoff. Please turn off all personal electronic devices.
G.
The next train to arrive at platform 3 will be the 1708 Great Western service to London Paddington, calling at Reading, Slough and London Paddington. This train is formed of 5 coaches. First-class coaches are at the front of the train.
H.
This is a Northern Line train via Bank, terminating at Morden. The next station is London Bridge. Change here for the Jubilee line.
I.
This is the pre-boarding announcement for flight FS89B to Rome. We're now inviting those passengers with small children and any passengers requiring special assistance to begin boarding at this time. Please have your boarding pass and identification ready. Regular boarding will begin in approximately 10 minutes' time. Thank you.
J.
We've now landed in London Gatwick. Please disembark by either the front or rear exits. Make sure you have all your personal belongings with you.
3.2 1.
This is a platform alteration. The 11:32 Southeastern service to Margate will now depart from platform 13. Passengers travelling on the 11:32 Southeastern service to Margate, please make your way to platform 13 as the train is ready for boarding.
2.
We are sorry to announce that the 14:15 Southwestern service to Bournemouth has been cancelled. This is due to a signalling failure. Southwestern Railways apologises for the disruption to your journey today.
3.
The next train to arrive at platform 3 will be the 1708 Great Western service to London Paddington, calling at Reading, Slough and London Paddington. This train is formed of 5 coaches. First-class coaches are at the front of the train.
4.
This is a Northern Line train via Bank, terminating at Morden. The next station is London Bridge. Change here for the Jubilee Line.
3.3. 1.
Good afternoon, this is your captain speaking. I'd like to welcome you all on board the Wings Flight 86A to London Stansted. We are currently cruising at an altitude of 33,000 feet at an airspeed of 400 miles per hour. The weather en route looks good, and we are expecting to land in London approximately 15 minutes ahead of schedule. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the flight.
2.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we have your special attention for the following safety instructions. There are 6 emergency exits on this aircraft, all marked with exit signs. Take a minute to locate the exit closest to you. Note that the nearest exit may be behind you.
3.
This is the final boarding call for passengers Alice and Christopher Carter, booked on flight NY372A to Las Vegas. Please proceed to gate 3 immediately. I repeat, this is the final boarding call for Alice and Christopher Carter. Thank you.
4.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board flight MA4B7 to San Francisco. We are currently third in line for takeoff and are expected to be in the air in approximately 7 minutes' time. We ask that you please fasten your seatbelts at this time and place all baggage securely underneath your seat or in the overhead compartments. We also ask that your seats and tray tables are in the upright position for takeoff. Please turn off all personal electronic devices.
5.
This is the pre-boarding announcement for flight FS89B to Rome. We're now inviting those passengers with small children and any passengers requiring special assistance to begin boarding at this time. Please have your boarding pass and identification ready. Regular boarding will begin in approximately 10 minutes' time. Thank you.
6.
We've now landed in London Gatwick. Please disembark by either the front or rear exits. Make sure you have all your personal belongings with you.
3.4. 1.
The weather en route looks good, and we are expecting to land in London approximately 15 minutes ahead of schedule.
2.
Take a minute to locate the exit closest to you.
3.
Please proceed to gate 3 immediately.
4.
We ask that you please fasten your seatbelts at this time and place all baggage securely underneath your seat or in the overhead compartments. Please turn off all personal electronic devices.
5.
We're now inviting those passengers with small children and any passengers requiring special assistance to begin boarding at this time.
6.
Please disembark by either the front or rear exits.
3.5. Air travel. 1. At the airport. 1. A.
Airport terminal.
2. D.
Bag drop.
3. I.
Baggage reclaim.
4. C.
Check-in desk.
5. J.
Customs.
6. B.
Departures board.
7. G.
Gate.
8. H.
Runway.
9. E.
Security.
10. F.
Lounge.
3.6. 2. On board.
I often fly to Bolivia on business. I always choose an aisle seat so that I can get up and walk around more easily. My favourite place to sit is the emergency exit row, so I have more legroom. Sometimes there's turbulence when the plane flies over the Andes, which I don't enjoy, and the cabin crew tell the passengers to put their seatbelts on. There aren't any direct flights to La Paz from London, so I usually have to get a connecting flight in Madrid. Whenever I take long-haul flights, I always suffer from jet lag because of the time difference, and I feel tired for several days.
3.7. 3. Travel, trip, or journey. 1.
Have a good trip. Hope the weather's great.
2.
Did you have a good journey here?
No, my flight was delayed for 6 hours.
3.
Do you have to travel much in your job?
4.
We're going on a 5-day trip to the mountains.
3.8. 4. Phrasal verbs related to air travel. 1.
My husband dropped me off at the airport 2 hours before the flight.
2.
I checked in online the day before I was going to fly.
3.
As soon as I got on the plane, I put my bag in the overhead locker.
4.
The plane took off late because of the bad weather.
5.
When I picked up my luggage at baggage reclaim, I bumped into an old friend who had been on the same flight.
6.
I filled in the immigration form for the US, which the cabin crew gave me shortly before landing.
7.
When I got off the plane, I felt exhausted after the long flight.
8.
My flight arrived really late at night, but luckily a friend picked me up at the airport.
3.9.
With me in the studio today, I have Richard, who's a pilot, and he's going to answer some of the most frequently asked questions about flying and air travel. Hello, Richard.
Hello.
So, Richard, the first question is, what weather conditions are the most dangerous when flying a plane?
Probably the most dangerous weather conditions are when the wind changes direction very suddenly. This tends to happen during thunderstorms and typhoons, and it's especially dangerous during takeoff and landing, but it's quite unusual. I've been flying for 25 years now, and I've only experienced this 3 or 4 times.
What about turbulence? Is that dangerous?
It can be very bumpy and very uncomfortable, but it isn't dangerous. Even strong turbulence won't damage the plane. Pilots always try to avoid turbulence, but it can sometimes occur without any warning, which is why we always advise passengers to wear their seatbelt all the time during the flight.
Which is more dangerous, takeoff or landing?
Well, both takeoff and landing can be dangerous. They are the most dangerous moments of a flight. Pilots talk about the critical 8 minutes, the 3 minutes after takeoff and the 5 minutes before landing. Most accidents happen in this period, but I would say that takeoff is probably slightly more dangerous than landing. There is a critical moment just before takeoff when the plane is accelerating, but it hasn't yet reached the speed to be able to fly. If the pilot has a problem with the plane at this point, he has very little time, maybe only a second, to abort the takeoff.
Why are passengers asked to switch off their electronic devices during takeoff and landing?
It's mainly because they don't want passengers to be distracted in case there's an emergency. It's nothing to do with the devices interfering with aircraft controls. I mean, aircraft control systems are so sophisticated now that they wouldn't cause any interference. Incidentally, that's also the reason why people have to put their tray tables up. If we had to abandon takeoff or have an emergency evacuation, a tray table could cause a passenger injury or prevent other passengers from getting out easily.
Is it really worth listening to safety demonstrations?
Definitely. I can tell you for a fact that when pilots are passengers in a flight, they always identify the nearest emergency exit and count how many rows in front or behind it is.
Do you ever get scared?
I've been asked this many times, and the answer is no. Hand on heart. I've been flying since I was 16, and there's never been a single occasion where I felt scared in the air. Bear in mind, you've been asking me about dangerous situations, but these are incredibly rare.
Thanks very much, Richard.
3.10 1.
We arrived at the airport and checked in.
2.
We were having dinner when the plane hit some turbulence.
At 9 o'clock, most people on the plane were reading or were trying to sleep.
3.
When we arrived at the airport, we suddenly realised that we'd left one of the suitcases in the taxi.
4.
We'd been flying for about 2 hours when suddenly the captain told us to fasten our seatbelts because we were flying into some very bad weather.
3.11
Lena was crying because she'd been reading a very sad book.
Lena didn't want to see the film because she'd already read the book.
3.12 1.
Boot. Ooh. Flew. Through.
2.
Fish. Hid. Driven. Hidden. Ridden. Written.
3.
Horse. Or. Caught. Fought. Thought. Fallen.
4.
Bird. Heard. Hurt.
5.
Phone. Oh. Drove. Rode. Told. Wrote. Flown. Thrown.
6.
Up. Cut. Become.
7.
Egg. Fell. Held. Kept. Left. Read. Said. Slept.
8.
Train. Became. Lay. Lane.
3.13
This happened when my wife and I were on a flight to New York, and we'd been flying for a few hours. I was reading, and my wife was watching a film, when suddenly we heard an announcement. Is there a doctor on board? It turned out that a woman was having a baby. Luckily, 2 doctors came forward, and the baby was born safely.
3.14 1.
He walks very slowly.
I speak 5 languages fluently.
The driver was seriously injured in the accident.
2.
I hardly ever have time for breakfast.
Liam's always late for work.
I would never have thought you were 40.
3.
It rained all day yesterday.
My parents will be here in half an hour.
4.
I've nearly finished.
We're incredibly tired.
My husband works a lot, but he doesn't earn much.
5.
Unfortunately, the parcel never arrived.
Ideally, we should leave here at 10.
3.15. 1.
Oh, no.
2.
Oh!
What's happened?
3.
Can I see your boarding pass?
Oh, no. I've lost it. Where is it? Where is it?
I'm afraid you can't fly if you haven't got your boarding pass.
Oh, here it is.
4.
Tom, this is Andrea. But you two know each other, don't you?
Actually, we don't, but I've heard about you. Hi, Andrea. Nice to meet you at last.
Hello.
5.
I can't see a thing. I think we'd better stop for a bit.
6.
Excuse me, please could you tell me how to get to the train station?
Yeah, mate. Straight down the high street, left at the light, straight through the underpass, then it's right in front of you.
Pardon?
3.16. Adverbs and adverbial phrases. 1. Confusing adverbs and adverbial phrases. 1.
He trains very hard, at least 3 hours a day.
It's incredibly foggy. I can hardly see anything.
2.
I hate it when people arrive late for meetings.
I haven't heard from Mike lately. He must be very busy.
3.
At the end of a film, I always stay and watch the credits roll.
I didn't want to go, but in the end they persuaded me.
4.
I love most kinds of music, but especially jazz.
My wedding dress was specially made for me by a dressmaker.
5.
She looks younger than me, but actually she's 2 years older.
At the moment, they're renting a flat, but they're hoping to buy one soon.
6.
I've nearly finished my book. I'm on the last chapter.
Excuse me, is there a bank near here?
7.
Have you found a job yet?
He's 35, but he still lives with his parents.
8.
Have you ever been to the USA?
I've been all over the USA. I've even been to Alaska.
3.17. 2. Comment adverbs. 1.
Ideally.
2.
In fact.
3.
Basically.
4.
Obviously.
5.
Gradually.
6.
Apparently.
7.
Certainly.
8.
Eventually.
3.18. Absolutely. Actually. Apparently. Basically. Definitely. Especially. Eventually. Fortunately. Gradually. Ideally. Incredibly. Luckily. Obviously. Unfortunately. 3.19. 1.
There was a lot of traffic, and unfortunately we arrived extremely late.
2.
We definitely want to go abroad this summer, ideally somewhere hot.
3.
It's incredibly easy.
Even a child could do it.
4.
I thought Roberto was Portuguese, but actually, he's Brazilian.
5.
Apparently, Jack has been offered a promotion at work, but it will mean moving to New York.
6.
I absolutely love Italian food, especially pasta.
3.20 The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant. Part 1.
Mathilde Loisel was a pretty and charming girl, but born into a poor family. She was ambitious and thought she deserved to be part of the highest level of French society. As she grew up, she was increasingly ashamed of her circumstances, but there was little she could do about it. Eventually, she married a clerk at the Ministry of Education. They led a simple life, and Mathilde suffered. She felt that she deserved a life of luxury, and their poor house and ugly furniture and just one young servant made her miserable. She had no dresses, no jewellery, nothing. She never visited her one rich school friend, Madame Forestier, because she could not bear to see the life that she herself would never have. One evening, her husband came home, proudly holding in his hand a large envelope.
"Here,"
he said.
"Here's something for you."
She quickly opened it. It was an invitation from the Minister of Education to a party at the palace of the ministry. But instead of being delighted, as her husband had hoped, she threw the invitation on the table.
What do you want me to do with this?
"My dear, I thought you would be pleased. You never go out, and this is a great occasion. I went to a lot of trouble to get the invitation. Everybody wants one, and not many are given to the clerks. You will meet all kinds of important people there."
She looked at him impatiently and said,
What do you want me to wear to the party?
He had not thought of that. He hesitated.
"The dress you wear to the theatre."
He stopped as he saw that his wife was crying.
"What's the matter? What's the matter?"
Mathilde wiped her eyes and replied calmly.
Nothing. Only I have no dress, so I cannot go to this party. Give your invitation to some colleague whose wife has better clothes than I.
Her husband was heartbroken.
"Look here, Mathilde. How much would this cost, a proper dress?"
She thought for a few seconds and answered,
I don't know exactly, but I think I could do it with 400 francs.
He grew a little pale. He had saved exactly this amount for a short trip the following summer with his friends. But he said,
"All right, I will give you 400 francs, but make sure you get a pretty dress."
But as the day of the party drew near, Mathilde was still not happy. Although she now had her dress, she had no jewellery to go with it. When she told her husband, he suggested that she ask her friend Jeanne Forestier to lend her something. Pleased with the idea, she went to her friend's house and told her about her distress. Madame Forestier agreed to lend her something. She tried on several pieces, but nothing was right until she suddenly saw a magnificent diamond necklace. To her joy, her friend let her borrow it.
.21 Part 2.
The day of the party arrived. Mathilde was a success. She was the prettiest of them all, elegant, smiling, and mad with joy. All the men stared at her, asked her name, and asked to be introduced. She danced all night in a cloud of happiness. They left at about 4 in the morning. It was a cold night, and her husband could not find a cab. They walked towards the Seine, shivering, and finally found one. When they got home, Mathilde took off her cloak, but as she glanced at the mirror to see herself one last time, she suddenly gave a cry.
Mon Dieu, non!
Her husband, half undressed already, asked,
"What is the matter with you?"
She turned to him in terror.
The necklace. I have lost Madame Forestier's diamond necklace.
He jumped up, frightened.
"What? How? It is not possible."
They searched everywhere, but they did not find it. They had no way of contacting the cab driver. Her husband rushed out and retraced their steps from the ministry to where they had caught the cab. He came back at about 7 o'clock in the morning. He had found nothing. He went to the police, to the newspapers, and to the cab companies to offer a reward, hoping against hope that it would be found.
"You must write to your friend,"
he said,
"that you have broken the clasp of her necklace and that you are having it repaired. That will give us time to decide what to do."
By the end of the week, they had lost all hope. The next day they went from jewellers to jewellers, looking for a necklace like the one Mathilde had borrowed. In a shop in the Palais Royal, they found a diamond necklace that seemed to them absolutely identical. The price was 36,000 francs. Monsieur Loisel had 18,000 francs, which he had inherited from his father. He borrowed the rest, asking 1,000 francs from one friend, 500 from another, doing business with moneylenders, and signing promises to pay which he was not sure he would be able to keep. Finally, he was able to raise the 18,000 more that they needed. When Mathilde took the necklace back to Madame Forestier, she said coldly,
"You should have brought it back sooner. I might have needed it."
(3.22) Part 3.
Mathilde now learned the terrible life of the really poor. Heroically, she made the best of it. The debt must be paid. She would pay it. They dismissed their servant. They left their house and rented a small attic under the roof. She learned how to do housework and how to cook. She washed the dishes, wearing out her pink nails on the greasy pots and the bottoms of the pans. She washed their dirty sheets and clothes. She took their rubbish down to the street every morning, and she carried up the water, pausing for breath on every floor. Wearing old, worn-out clothes, she went out to the greengrocer, the grocer, the butcher, with a basket on her arm, bargaining, insulted, fighting to save a sou here or there. Every month, they had to pay back part of the money they had borrowed. Her husband worked in the evening doing the accounts for a shopkeeper, and at night often he did copying at 5 sous the page. This life lasted 10 years. At the end of 10 years, they had paid everything back. Everything, with all the accumulation of interest. With her badly combed hair and her red hands, Mathilde now looked like an old woman. But sometimes, when her husband was at the office, she sat down by the window and she thought of that evening long ago, of that party where she had been so beautiful and so admired. What would have happened if she had not lost that necklace? Who knows? Who knows?
3.23 Part 4
One Sunday, after a hard week's work, Mathilde decided to go for a walk in the Champs-Élysées. As she was walking, she saw a woman with a child. It was Madame Forestier, still young, still beautiful, still seductive. Mathilde felt moved. Should she speak to her? Yes, certainly. And now that they had paid off the debt, she would tell her everything. Why not?
Good morning, Jeanne.
Madame Forestier did not recognize her. She hesitated.
But, Madame, I don't know you. Are you not making a mistake?
No, I am Mathilde Loisel.
Her friend gave a cry.
Oh, my poor Mathilde! How changed you are!
Yes, I have had hard times since I last saw you, and many troubles. And all because of you.
Because of me? How can that be?
You remember that diamond necklace that you lent me? To go to the party at the ministry?
Yes, I remember.
Well, I lost it.
That's not possible. You brought it back to me.
I brought you back another one just like it, and for the last 10 years we have been paying for it. You will understand that it was not easy for us. We had no money, but it's paid for at last.
Madame Forestier stared at her.
You say that you bought a diamond necklace to replace mine.
Yes, you did not even notice it, did you? They were exactly alike.
Madame Forestier, much moved, took her by both hands.
Oh, my poor Mathilde. But my diamonds were false. They were imitation. At most, they were worth 500 francs.